and welcome to another award-winning episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander with Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson with the Bona Training.
How we doing, Rob?
Pretty good, but how you doing? You look a little fuzzy. You okay?
If I don't look like I'm myself, and I don't feel like myself, but I am myself. I had my I don't know if people remember 10 years ago, I had my knee replaced. Okay. And it was not a successful knee operation. Okay. And I went to rehab. I was diligent about the rehab and everything, and it was never right. And it was consequently over the last 10 years, it hurt all the time and swelled up. And no one ever seen it. Like, let's say we were at the NWFA, we're staying in the booth all day, right? My leg would be on fire, and swell up. And at night, I go back to the hotel room and I put it on ice and all night long, man, and Advil and everything, just the next day I could walk on it. And my range of motion was probably 15, 20 degrees. Okay. It was agony. So finally I had that knee replaced again. So here's what the doctor tells me. And there's a lesson here, by the way, I think for a lot of people. Here's what the doctor tells me when I wake up, which was a 3 hour and 45-minute operation, by the way.
Oh,
Because you have to take the other knee out, and which is held by epoxy and screws, and it's hammer and chisel time to get it out. Okay, a lot of times they end up fracturing your leg, your bone. Try to we've all worked with epoxy, nothing friendly about it. So anyhow, here's what he says. He goes, Wayne, when you place a knee for a knee operation, it needs to be about a 3-degree angle. Your knee was at a 16-degree angle. He said you had no hope of ever straightening it out in a normal fashion. And he goes, and your knee is a size 5, okay, when you do a knee replacement. And the other doctor put a size 6 in, okay? He goes, when I open up a knee to put a new knee in, usually I take out 1 cc of fluid out of the knee. I took out 60 cc's of fluid on yours. He said the plastic insert that was put in your knee was shattered like someone took a sledgehammer to it because the angle was wrong. You were just walking on part of it and just destroyed it over the years. He goes, all that plastic is in your knee, just floating around there. That's why all these phantom pains were coming out of here and there and everywhere. And the reason I say this, because I remember my father-in-law was, I'll say to this day, he's probably the smartest man I've ever met in my life. He was a genius. Anybody who ever worked with him will tell you there was nobody like Tony O'Toole. But I remember going to a doctor with him one time, and the deference he had for that doctor, and this, he was almost like a puppy dog with that doctor. Whatever that doctor told him to do, whatever, you know what I mean? He was just
yes.
like, okay, he gave him a professional, blah, 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 blah. And I did the same thing with this doctor that did my first operation. And I will never make that mistake again in my life. I will, sorry about this. Let me get rid of this. I will interview them guys. Just, I don't like he's a house painter or a plumber or anybody else, man. You know what I
Let me
mean?
talk to your last 3 patients.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. When this guy closed me up, the first guy, he had to know it was wrong. I think I showed you an x-ray of what my knee looked like after. Because when I would go to other doctors after, they go, man, I don't like the size of this knee. This is not supposed to look like this. And the angle is wrong. They're just looking at an x-ray and they can tell this. My knee is so much better today. Well, actually, and also my doctor said, who after I really interviewed everybody, said this guy's probably the best guy in Tennessee. Dr. Park, by the way, great guy. He said that you're gonna love your new knee. You're gonna love it. He goes, everything went great, and my knee is already, the swelling is down compared to the last one, and my range of motion after just a little while is so much better than the last one, and I'm diligent about the rehab. I was always, with all my surgeries, I've been, I know that if you don't do the rehab, don't do the surgery. You're just wasting your time. And you're wasting the doctor's time. I owe it to myself and the doctor to do the rehab. So anyhow, there you go.
Weren't you a
So,
little skeptical though to have Dr. Johnny Lightning from the knee barn work
well,
on your knee?
when he spelled knee without the K, I was at the first clue. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You,
Hmm.
you weren't, you know, you weren't a little skeptical when it was buy one get two free.
It should have been the first red flag. Yeah, but no.
Who paid for this surgery?
Insurance.
Nothing from the old doctor though. Like, hey, that was me. I was drunk that day. That's on me.
No, no, no.
Wow,
Mm-mm.
crazy.
Yep. All right.
All
So
right, let's do a show. Remember,
okay.
don't fall in love. Remember everybody what Wayne's saying. Don't fall in love with your doctor.
Well, do your due diligence. Just because a guy's same thing with we think of lawyers and doctors and CPAs and everything. Like, you're a professional and you think that you have such a high amount of responsibility and pay that goes along with it that you would be beyond reproach when it comes to your craft. And I can tell you, I'm not going to go to the other stories I've had about my knee, but I can tell you that that's not always the case by any stretch of imagination. So, anyhow, so ask your questions and do your homework. You had a great idea for a show today, Rob, and I'm glad. As soon as you said, I went, you know what, man? Absolutely. I usually question you, but
Mhm. Always.
yeah,
Yeah.
but not as soon as I saw, it, I went,
I love when I think, oh, you know what? Sometimes I'll wake up, I'll even write the idea down, like in the middle of
mm-hmm,
the night. I'll write it
yeah,
down and I go, oh, I think he'll like this. And I'll send it over to Wayne, and Wayne will go, ah, we've done that before.
yeah,
I don't like that. I don't know about that.
mm-hmm. True,
So
all
I'm gonna give
true.
myself a bell for
Absolutely, you deserve
you
to.
liking this one.
Yeah.
This one did start to get crazy though, once I started writing stuff down. So
Well, it's reason good for
let's
good reason.
let's talk about it.
All right, so you want to go ahead and talk about the premise of the show?
Yeah. So this is show number 377, just in case you were wondering.
Mm-hmm.
We are barreling towards show number 400.
Yeah,
That is that crazy or what?
hard to believe.
That's
And
why we're an award-winning show because we can.
let's
I
be
mean, when
honest.
we hit 400, I think that's
Yeah.
more than Gunsmoke. I mean, we're getting
Oh,
up
you froze
there.
up?
No, I'm good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you froze up for a minute there. When you hit
Uh,
400, that's what?
that's like we're in Gunsmoke territory, and half of the people out there listening aren't going to know what Gunsmoke is, but
Mhm.
I think Gunsmoke was like on for 50 years or some crazy number.
By the way, when someone says you froze up and you say, no, I'm good. No, he froze up.
You sure it was? Are you sure I froze up, or it wasn't your
Yeah.
meds kicking in every now and
Could
then?
could have been.
Wayne's going to be in and out on this show, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So I called Wayne and I said, let's talk about. And there's so many times that we do shows and we barely talk about Bona, but we're going to talk about Bona. And this company does not rest on its laurels. And we're just going to go over the new products and improvements to other products just in the last 5 years. And once I started writing it down, it it started to really blow me away. Like how many changes, because I was going through what we're doing in the schools the other day, and I was like, my God, we weren't doing this, 8 years ago when I started training. I was blown away by how many things we have now added to the curriculum at the
Mm-hmm.
3-day school. And I keep making the joke to D is like, I could really use that fourth day. I could definitely use that fourth day, man.
It's a lot.
And I just thought of another one.
Mm-hmm.
So I just keep writing them down.
You did, but you know something? Um, on top of your list is Traffic Go. But I'm gonna before you even get to Traffic Go, I'm gonna get to Traffic HD. You okay with that?
I am okay with whatever you want to do.
Okay.
We're going to take this where the haze takes us.
Here's the nice, honest thing about this. I could take off this Bona hat and this Bona shirt, and I wouldn't say a damn thing differently than I'm saying right now. I made a living doing floors for over 30 years. I mean, your paycheck is on the line every week, every 2 weeks or whatever. A 3 inch hair can stop a $10,000 check. I've seen it. You got to make a living with your products and what have you, and you live and die by it every week. We're like gunslingers. Every new job, every new customer, different set of expectations. Um, I've used Bona products. I'd say 95% of those, 90 to 95% of those on my jobs. Um, Traffic is the most amazing finish that's ever been in the flooring business, bar none. And I will argue that with anybody, anywhere, anytime. I'm on a floor right now, for instance, that, okay, so it's been down 13 years. Let's say if it was an inferior finish, and we've got cats, and we don't baby this floor by any stretch of imagination. We have a lot of people over every year for several occasions, and really the floors look like we just put them in. Now, I told you I had my knee replaced. I'm walking around now. When you have your knee replaced, you get this thing. It's like old people like have, what I mean? He's got you put your handles on it, and there's wheels on the front,
Come on,
and
say it. Say what you're using.
what
Say
is
it.
it? What is it?
It's a walker. You're in a
Okay, yeah, it's
walker.
a walker. I don't
You're
care.
part of the walker brigade.
Yes, 100%. So, and I felt the wheels on it just because I'm a floor guy, and they're plasticky cheap, and they're like hard and whatever, and they're kind of like not nice and round like you would want for a floor. Now, I'm almost intentionally scuffing them around as I walk on the floors. I'm not caring about the floors. I'm in pain. I don't care. And the floor, and if I don't have coasters on this floor right that I'm sitting on in this chair that I'm at right now, and I always tell myself I should get coasters on the floor. I'm always scooting back and forth. There's nothing wrong with this floor whatsoever. And it's just flat out never let me down. Now, I'm also kind of rough on my floors over the last 5 years because I kind of want to sand them over again, just because. It's
Yeah.
my house and whatever. Maybe I want to change the color, go a little bit darker, this time, and no other reason. There's not a single reason why I need to refinish these floors, but traffic has never let me down. I've said it many times in this podcast. I could drive today to the first house that I use traffic on the floor, and I knew at that time. I didn't know that day. I knew the day after that this was a game changer in the industry. I'll tell you the reason why. It was a brutally hot day. It was a terrible layout. I was losing my light. It's coming to the end of the day. I should have waited to the next day to coat the floor. And I'm T-barring my way out of this floor. And I have to join the hallway with another dining room with a long hallway. Like everything converges together. I'm coming down the hallway. I'm losing my light. I'm by myself. And at the point now, I feel like I've lost the coat. Like I'm not confident. Like it's rarely happened in my life, but it happened on that job that I just don't feel confident that I'm seeing everything like I need to see it. So I T-barred it out and everything, came back and expected the next day, went to the distributor, bought more finish because I figured I'd have the coat floor, and I was kicking myself. Man, why didn't I just wait the next day? I should have or brought my brother because it's such a complex layout and everything. Rob, I opened them doors and it was flawless. It was flawless. And I turned all the lights on. And matter of fact, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning when I got there. And I waited until the lighting got better because it's not possible that I don't have something that don't look right. You know what I mean? But it was
Yeah.
not. It was a and let's say like I have the means and I'm in the business and I could get a sander. I could sand this floor. It would be nothing for me, really, no big deal. But let's say I was a customer and I had to sand these floors over. Look at the amount of freaking stuff in this house I'd have to move to do my floors over. What an inconvenience that would be to your clients. To now, the floors have worn early, and now they didn't hold up like you want them to. Now you got to sand the floors. Man, that just looking around, just this one room alone, the hassle. You want to say that maybe a few cents a square foot is too much to pay? What, you know what I mean? At this point in my life right now, today, if I had to sand these floors over because I had to, because I would be like, we got company coming over, the floors don't look good anymore. There's never been, and there's never has been, there's not today, another finish as good as Traffic HD. That's it. I'll say that to anybody. So,
There
all
you
right.
go. And that's right from Wayne.
And you put
That
down
that is. I put down traffic go, and well, that was one of them I put down. But as you were talking, and as I was looking at the list, okay, why traffic go? Because Bona listens to people. We listen to our customers, not to you and me, but we listen to our customer feedbacks. And what is one of the issues that I've seen over the years with Traffic HD is the hardeners. People don't like the hardener. They don't want to use the hardeners. They misuse the hardeners, right? And I especially see it with larger crews.
Mhm.
Like I had one guy come to a school, and I think I told this before, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to buy the hardeners back?" He goes, "I got a shelf
Yeah.
full of hardeners."
Hmm.
And I said, "Please don't say another word." I walked over off the shelf and I said, "For the love of God, just buy this product from now on."
Yeah.
The traffic go. I said, "Then no, I don't want to buy your hardener bottles back." I
Uh-huh.
said, "But if they're not using the hardener bottles, please use this and you never have to worry about it again."
Uh-huh.
So a lot of what we're going to talk about is Bona listening, not to the sales guys, not to training, but listening to the end user of what they don't like or what they find an issue with. And really, over the past 5 years, it blows me away on all the different things that they've come up with, listening to the end user, listening to our floor guys.
Yeah. So I would not use traffic go. Let me tell you why. Um, okay, so you know my passion is fishing when I'm not working, right?
Right.
So I would rather have $1,000 Dobbins rod than four rods that cost $200. You know what I mean? I want the best, and that just the way it is. I would myself use Traffic HD, and I would use the hardener. However, like you, if I've talked to many guys, and a lot of guys that have crews. If I had like 6, 7 guys working for me or whatever, I probably would go the route of Traffic Go
Yes.
because you know you can control it more, this, that, and the other, and there's waste involved, and you may not want that, and I get it. Myself, and I was a smaller company, I would use Traffic HD. But I heard the same thing, and and just like you, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I just like, yeah, and this guy's a big time guy. When I went to his shop, he had all these hardeners behind the shop that they never put in the. I was horrified. I mean, how could you not use the hardeners?
It's frightening.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it
But
was. It was.
and not only there are some guys who don't use it and then they'll double up on the final coat. I mean, I've heard it all. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny you said that because I remember really being impressed with how traffic go, when I started using it. And I said to Bum, I said, "Hey, you gotta use this. You
Mhm.
gotta go with this traffic go." I go, "You don't have to worry about the hardener anymore." And he looked at me and he just like you, no. He goes, "I don't have any problem with waste." He goes,
Yeah.
I know how to mix it. I know what I'm, but he's the guy. He's the guy
Right.
mixing it.
Right.
He goes, "Why would I try anything else where all my success is with this? I'm
Yeah.
not going to change a thing." And I was like, "Oh, all right, I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. I guess it's not a product for everybody, but it
Yeah.
is definitely a product. Anybody out there at larger crews and you're having the hardener issue, man, traffic go. That just solves everything. Just another problem solved."
Not to mention, for one single component product, it's a Cadillac. It really truly is a Cadillac of single components. So I think when it comes to the two component and the single component, that name Traffic is still king. All right, what do you got next?
Clear seal, clear seal.
Yep.
We heard you. We heard your complaints. Okay. Classic seal, man. I mean, that stuff's been around since the 90s. That was our go-to. Okay. It used to be called Bona seal. Then they
Mhm.
turned it into classic seal, but it had some limitations. But it had the color that everybody wanted, the neutral, no color. Okay.
Mhm.
but it had limitations. You can't put it on stain, can't put it on itself. And
Mhm.
when you did try to abrade it, it got a little gummy and you got the stickers and all that. So what they do? They turn around, they come out with a product like Clear Seal. And I've said it 1,000 times on the show, by far the easiest sealer I've ever put on bare wood in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, the most forgiving, but it just checked all the boxes that Classic Seal couldn't.
Yeah.
About going over stain, going over itself, powdering up nice if you needed to abrade. I mean, just so many great parts, but it gave us that neutral color of no pigments added.
I'm going to say something here that, that part of that was not our fault. We tried to kill Classic Seal. Remember, for so many years,
Yes.
we wanted it to go away because we knew about Clear Seal, whatever. But the numbers were still there. People were
Yeah.
still buying the
How
product.
many sales meetings did we sit in
Yeah.
saying like,
So
why are we still selling this stuff? And
yeah,
I remember one day McNeil goes, because we sold 9 trucks of it. That's why.
yeah. All right. Yeah, no, I agree. Clear Seal is a super good product for us, man, and helped the line up big time. Like you said, the also that trend of the light looking floors has not gone away in how many years now? You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's still a hot look. Except for on Cortison. Anybody puts a natural seal on or Nordic seal on maybe Nordic seal, but Cortison's got to be dark, man. You do a Cortison floor, it's got to be a dark stain,
Yeah, it
in my
almost looks when you
opinion.
put Nordic on a courtesan, it almost looks like a fake floor.
Yeah,
It doesn't. It's got a
but
funny look to it.
I would take
But
Nordic seal
that's the
over.
courtesan though.
Yeah. Well, I would
I
take.
personally I don't even like the look of courtesan.
Are
I,
you kidding? You're the first person I've ever
no,
heard in my life say that.
no,
It's
nope,
my favorite.
no kidding. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Well, of course it is. If I don't like
yeah.
it, you'll love it.
How can
Right.
you not like Cortison?
Oh my God,
It's the cream of the
it's
crop.
ugly. Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh, man.
Give me a nice, beautiful grain. That's what I like to see.
All right, all right. All right, what else you got?
The DCS 50,
Yep,
new edition.
yep. We had the blue vacuum cleaners. What was the
The
name of
Super
those?
Vac.
Super vacs, yes. I think
You would not believe how many guys still have a Super Vac
I have a super vac.
that they bought 25 years ago.
Hmm.
And that was their first dust containment, was hooking the Super Vac up to an edger
That was
or a
a
buffer.
great vacuum cleaner.
It is a great vacuum. I was
Yeah.
really surprised. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I mean, it's loud.
It's
She's
loud.
got she's
Yeah, it was
got some
well,
decibels to her.
back then it was either that or those shop vacs, which was like standing next to a 747.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
ungodly loud. But the DCS 50 is a big improvement with the soft
And
start.
the thing about it, you can use it as a wet dry vac.
Hmm.
Um, you can also use it as 100%. Um, oh, come on, help me out with the word here. HEPA. It
HEPA filter.
also with the HEPA filter and the HEPA bag, if
Hmm.
you have a job, commercial job or something that requires 100% HEPA, that vacuum checks that box too. So once
You know,
again, it
you know,
was just another one that checks the box,
you
helps
know,
people out.
even if you didn't have a commercial job, to tell a homeowner that, listen, that we also run a vacuum system with the HEPA filters in it, and explain that to the homeowner what that means. It's another sales tool.
Yeah.
Um, you said something one day, and what did you say that the last breath of air
Oh
with
yeah,
the
I love saying that.
yeah,
The
repeat that.
the the DCS 2.0, the last breath of air that passes out into your house goes through 2 HEPA filters, not one, a
Mhm.
dual HEPA filter system. The air is cleaner when we leave than it was when we got there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love waxing poetic on that one. That's one of
that
my
that
favorites.
that's a good line, man. Because I'm looking around at this house, and there's so many. My wife is, I'd say my wife is brilliant too. She's her father's daughter. She's very, very smart, but she's got thousands of magazines here and she keeps them. I want to get rid of them all. It's supposed to be my room here. I only want one room. And she keeps all these magazines because they have food recipes in them. Now, it's hard to complain that your wife keeps them because there's recipes in there. She's a great
There's a
cook and
recipe. She's going to make something for you.
she's only cooking for one person. So
Right.
it doesn't strengthen my argument.
Right.
But put them on, take a picture of them. Take a picture and put it on your phone, put them in one of your albums, and then throw the magazines out. I've got all these magazines here. But my point is, all that stuff is, when you have your floors done, it was the number one concern we had on that other show is is dust, right? So to be able to alleviate some of that concern and just say, hey, we run the HEPA filters in our vacuum system. It's a pretty powerful statement.
That's a major step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes with that whole Bona 7 that we've been doing at training. Like,
Hmm.
what's gonna, what's gonna mean something to a homeowner
I heard
about
you.
using certain Bona products?
I heard you were doing that. What I didn't hear, however, is where you got that from. Um,
The Bona 7,
yeah, thought that
I
was
made it up.
you made it up.
100% me. Are you me? You're gonna take credit for this? You haven't taken enough credit for everything that we do. Now you want credit for this?
Look, I'm a very insecure man. Uh, I'm just kidding.
Now,
I
I
wish I
gave
was.
you the props on the 10.
Okay, well, you narrowed it down to three. You took three of them
No,
out, and
no,
now
no,
it's
no,
yours.
no, no, no. They're two different trainings. One is the
Okay,
bonus 7.
okay,
Okay? The 7 things that are gonna mean something to a homeowner while
okay,
they'll pay you extra money. Okay?
okay,
The
okay.
other one, yes, that was yours. 10 concerns
Mhm.
in the homeowner's head about having their floors done.
Okay,
Yes, that was
okay,
you. But the
okay.
bonus 7,
Look, I don't
and
need
of
the
course
credit
you had
for
to
it.
have 10, right? I had 7. I'm going to do
Uh,
them better.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
No,
So, yes, I'll give
I'm
you that.
I'm ashamed I
You're,
even brought it
look
up.
it, man. I get it. You're doped. You're
I
doped
am.
right now. So you're not
It's
thinking straight. You just
ev-
want everything.
yeah,
You want it all.
everything's so fuzzy right now. I can't begin to
Right.
tell you. Yeah. All right. What else you got?
Oh, Chroma.
That was
Oh
my
my
idea.
gosh. No,
Just kidding.
no.
Just kidding.
Wayne dreamt about that back in the 90s.
Uh-huh. Chroma, 100%, man. And the way I really think that, sometimes things take a little bit longer to take off. But it answers one of the most important things in our industry. One of your biggest concerns, what do you worry about more than probably most anything out there? And especially, I talked about when I was working by myself, I wouldn't use Traffic Go, I would use Traffic HD, right?
Right.
Um, but with man, spontaneous combustion is a scary, scary animal. If anybody's been around this business any long length of time at all, you probably experienced it at some point in your career, or you've read about it. Like I think last year, I've never read so many fires. I mean, so every time you open up one of the magazines, a fire here, a fire there, and everything, it takes one stain rag to ruin your career, to ruin
Hmm.
everything you put into it. So some things is like I'll say this about when I started using water-based finish. When I first started using water-based finish is because my father-in-law was on a job with me. He didn't know the flooring business, but he knew oil-based finishes. Him and his wife refinished antique furniture on the side. And he seen me use an oil-based finish. So he was intrigued when he seen the water-based finish and he was reading the can. And then when he realized that you could put 2 coats on in a day, it's like, why would you use anything else? Just financially. And he only looked at it from the financial aspect. He didn't look at it from, did it wear well? Did it do this, that, blah, 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 whatever. He just like, what can this do for your business? If you figure out how many trips it can stop you from going back and forth to the job and gas and then blah blah blah. And I think the Chroma is another one of those type of products. Is that, you know what? You use all the same disciplines that we use in the flooring industry with the use the buffer, use wiping off, use a pad, and this, that, and the other. Um, but what it can save as far as heartache goes, is that and the other is one part of the equation. The other is you're water popping the floor as you're staining it. You're taking that off the table, right? That's time.
Yeah. Yep.
And the
Absolutely.
colors are beautiful. So yeah, you know what? Is it a little bit different than putting on a stain like you normally do? Yes, it is, but not by much. The learning curve is very small. And if any, I tell everybody, if anybody really wants to really know about chroma, talk to Jeremiah Strong, and one of our reps out of Nashville, who has been on this from the get go, and goes, man, I wouldn't use anything else. It's incredible. So I think that when we're go ahead.
The other thing about the chroma too is we had to, and we talked about Green Guard Gold on this show. You know, everybody knows about it, but this was the last piece of the puzzle from
Mhm.
installs right up to cleaning your floors. You know,
Mhm.
the yearly, the weekly maintenance, everything was Green Guard Gold except for the coloration. That was
Yeah,
the only thing that we were missing.
you're
And
right.
this was, and it's amazing how many guys are doing this now. So they're upselling, like selling a complete Green Guard Gold system from installation all the way up to maintenance.
Yep.
And this was the final piece to that puzzle.
You're so right. Because when it came to VOCs, it's like, oh yeah, great. We check off that box. We check off that. Oh, oh, it's now they want to stain it, and now that shoots down the whole thing. And now there's a response. There's an answer for that.
All right, next one. And we're going to talk about Jeremiah Strong again.
Are we? We
Two in a
seem
row
to.
for Jeremiah. The
Yeah. All right.
relaunch of the Combi Edge.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, his little trick of putting the 1/4 inch interface, 6 inch interface pad on that little machine,
Mhm.
uh, it is. uh, I mean, it's unbelievable. We just did a school in North Carolina last week. We did a 3-day school, and I would say half of that class had never sanded a floor before, and the other half had. And I was like, I'm just gonna let the new guys run this edger on the stain part.
Mhm.
And they were just like, shaking their heads. And I'm like, you are not going to believe. I go, I'm edging and palm sanding at the same time with this machine.
Wow.
And I mean, the new guys, they're just like, hey, looks great. You know what I mean? It was nothing to
Mhm.
them because they didn't know any better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the guys who have been around,
I
they're on their
knew.
hands and knees. They got the light out. They're like, you got to be kidding me. I go, that guy's never sanded a floor before. The guy who edged this has never sanded a floor. We stained over it, and you can't see a mark. So, man, Jeremiah Strong, what an idea that was. Absolutely amazing with that combi edge.
Yeah, because you can have an orbital sander, right? You can buy 6 inch orbital sander, a 5 inch orbital sander, whatever. But I think this is faster and it's more ergonomic to use this. And uh, you said we mentioned Jeremiah a lot, and he's a guy that I've come to really respect his knowledge and his passion. And there's very few people that I can say, you know what, when I get stumped or I'm not quite sure, he's my go-to guy because I trust him. I have a few guys like that. Certainly when it comes to any sanding, finishing, I've called you a few times. Um, Michael Dittmer is a guy that I trust his opinion. I'll ask him. Um, and Jeremiah, because he's on it daily, doing these things daily, and he's got so much passion for it. And we work together, and he knows how picky I am, and towards the end he became just such a damn good floor craftsman. So yeah, I thought when he would like, man, he goes, you got to check this out. I was he was doing a school in Nashville and said, come down and check out this edger, man. I go, yeah, the combi edge. He goes, no,
No, no, no.
you got to see what we're
Yeah.
doing. So
And the combi edge has, that's the combi edge is the one with the all the different parts that go to it. It has the skid plate. So when you're doing stairs, your wheels don't roll off. It makes it
mhm,
uh nice and easy to do stairs with it. Also has the long nose for the radiator machine. Bum bought one years ago just because he needed dust containment for the radiator machines because that was throwing more dust than any machine out there. It was insane. So yeah, hats off. But um, like I said, Bona just not sitting down and resting here, always coming up with. So what did we do when Jeremiah came up with that? We eliminate palm sanding, saving
yeah,
you time.
yeah,
And it's people don't believe it until they see when I said, "Look, we're gonna take you." I'll tell her, "You do you palm sand?" Oh yeah, everybody's palm sand.
mhm,
I go try this machine. You won't
yeah,
palm sand anymore, and they look
yeah,
at you like, "No way." Give it a
yeah.
shot. Try
Uh,
it.
in
You'll be
conjunction,
surprised.
yeah, especially when you're using the power drive too. The combination of those two machines is a game changer.
Unbelievable. All right, next one down. Red out.
All
We
right.
heard you.
Yep.
Why don't we want to use bleach? Bleach makes wood soft, destroys the
Yep.
lignin in the wood fiber, and it weakens the floor.
Yep.
And man, oh man, how many times have we heard in the last 10 years, how do I get the red
Yeah.
out of the red, out of the red oak? Or
Red
red
oak.
oak. I feel bad
Yeah.
for red oak.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was your go-to forever.
Yep.
Remember when
Yep.
nobody wanted white oak back in the
No.
80s when we were doing this?
Yep.
Nobody ever
It was always
asked for a
it was,
white oak floor.
yeah.
White oak
Yeah.
floors were so cheap. Remember how it's
Yep.
completely traded now.
Well, look at all the boards we used to cull out are now the boards that everybody wants. You know what I mean? That rustic wood, the mineral streaks, and all this, that, and the other. We can't put that in that floor, and now that's what everybody's after.
Yeah.
Crazy
Uh,
how times
uh,
change.
and I love doing it in the schools. Just after I'm done talking about all my Green Guard gold and everything, I go,
Hmm.
this is not Green Guard gold. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
This
that's
is
right.
this is gloves and glasses, and it should have a skull and crossbones on it. But
Yeah.
it works.
All right. I see you have vertical on the list.
Yes. Yeah, I had to throw
Uh,
you a couple, right?
yeah. We got something in store for vertical coming up. I can't talk about, but
Oh, yeah, you do know where
yeah,
the
I'll do a
bodies are
little,
buried, don't you?
little teaser. But man, that's a hard silane product, man. That is a beast. Um, we had Frank, one of our guys, our commercial specifier, took two boards. He overlapped them by about 18 inches, and he hung them off a ladder on both sides. And he's a pretty big boy, 220, 230, somewhere like that. And he hung off them the next day to show how powerful that product is. So many reasons for having vertical in the van. I mean, board replacement, stairs, treads, and risers. Forget about it, man. It's an unbelievable product. So
Forget about it. You sound like you're from my neck of the woods now.
it was unusual for me to do that. I watched an episode of The Soprano the other day. It was on, and I was going to flip through it, but it caught my attention, and I kept going. So, you ever been to the Bada Bing?
No, nope. I've driven by it 100 times. It's on Route 17
Yeah,
in Jersey. Yep.
yeah. I went in one
And
time.
I'm always on my way home. Like
Yeah.
I'm always on my way home.
Hmm.
Thursday night or Friday night, and I was like there it is. It's not called. It does say the Bada Bing, but it's got a different
Yeah.
name. But it says there's
Hmm.
a sign that says, this is where they shot the Bada Bing or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I had a drive by one time, and I thought, man, I can't. How can I not go in here? I watched the whole series. Walked in and walked right back out. It's just a regular. There's nothing. It's nothing like. You can. There's no sign that it was a soprano singing. You just have a well, whatever. I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, it's no big deal. So anyhow,
Did I ever tell you I was on the set of The
you
Sopranos?
sure did. You sure
I'd
did.
love telling that story. I'll
That's a,
bore everybody to death with that story.
yeah, that was a great story. Um, Bona Nets.
Bonanette, we heard you. We love the diamonds, but man, are they expensive. And like I said, we didn't get rid of the diamonds. We just moved the diamonds over into our recoat systems.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And the nets have been an unbelievable replacement to the diamonds.
Yeah.
They cut almost as good as the diamonds, but they're priced like sandpaper. So,
Uh-huh.
that was one of the big knocks against the diamonds is, yeah, I love them, but boy, they're expensive. And if I chunk one up, I'm out
Yeah.
$10. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of tough.
Let's stop right there. Look at where we were in technology and where we are now in technology. The products we talked about. Remember sandpaper in the old days? Hard plating. If you were one of the studs, you really want to get that floor dead flat, you'd be hard plating the floor, right? The sandpaper, the wild sandpaper pattern, the scratches that you would get on the floor, the stains that took longer to dry, right? We didn't buff on stains way back in the early days. Took longer to dry. The polyurethane that you had to wait overnight to dry, and that smell that you had to deal with all the time. Yeah, we sell poly, but whatever. But you'd have that smell, and sometimes you'd walk in there and it smelled too good. It smelled like, oh, it shouldn't smell this fresh the next day. And you'd walk across the floor and it would stick a little bit too much to your tennis shoes. And you really had the decision of, man, I got to coat this floor today, man. I mean, stay on schedule, but it's still wet, man. So you got to turn the heater on and do all these things. The sandpaper machines, the choices with red out, the vacuum systems are so much better today. With the power drive. I mean, I really believe we led the way. Yeah, I sound like Homer, and I don't care, uh, because I believe every word of it. When we brought the power drive back into existence, that that planetary machine was dead in this industry. You had one company selling them, and it's a
Yeah,
great machine.
and and a lot of them
Doesn't.
were collecting dust in the back
Yep.
of the wheel. They were like the old square buff.
Yeah, not it is, and it did its job. It was a good machine, but the versatility of the power drive and the way it's changed the game. And now you look at the sandpaper, like when you talk about the what do you call it, the Bona nets, man, the game is just different today. And it's been improvements, and maybe if you've been in the industry over the last 5 or 10 years, you don't see it as much as I think guys that went through the 70s and 80s. If you started in that 70s and 80s doing floors, you seen
There
some
were no
radical.
changes.
There was nothing
Yeah, it,
forever. I
that
mean,
was
we
it.
went 20 years and then there was all this, nothing changed. And then all of a sudden, and I really feel like we've led the industry in a lot of ways in this, man. And sometimes kicking is taking the industry, kicking and screaming along with us. When we talk about low VOC products, zero VOC products, now with the chroma, with you don't have to worry about spontaneous combustion. Um, I think it's been a revolution in the industry, really. If you look at the last 20 years, what's happened.
It's funny you said there's been no changes, like in the 70s and 80s, everything. But now I'm thinking back, the first time I saw water base was 1978. We were using
Mhm.
it on the approaches in bowling alleys,
Yeah,
right?
same. Yeah.
Right? And the reason, what was the one reason that we made the switch to water base? I mean, my family made the switch to water base.
Well, in your
Lacquer fires.
yeah, in your line of business, it would have been lacquer.
Everything was extremely dangerous, highly flammable. I mean, we had fires constantly. I mean, we
Yeah.
we didn't when we were sanding lacquer, we didn't have dust bags. We used to put a metal tank on top of the drum and pour water into it and the lacquer dust would go in there.
Wow.
Even then, it would sometimes ignite. You wouldn't get fire; it would just get
Yeah.
unbelievable amount of smoke coming out. But everything was contained in these metal boxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're talking about why switch to the chroma is
Hmm.
exactly why we made the. We didn't know water based was better, had better chemical resistance, better. We didn't know any of that. All we knew was, holy, it's safer.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We're not.
You,
Nobody's gonna burn this week.
back in those days, you could turn a light switch on and blow the house up.
How many people did?
Yeah. You
Absolutely.
you could forget a pilot light and blow the house up. You could, and I've seen guys go up poles and hook up 220 to poles outside the house, and all these things that we did back then, man. It's a better industry today than it's ever been. And make no mistake about it, it's a tough, tough, tough industry. It's a very, very hard industry. Anytime you're dealing with the public, and anytime you are in their home, and it's very subjective to what they think is a good job, and whether they're being honest about it or not, or they're looking at it for an angle or whatever. It's a very difficult job. Um, so I've always felt like, and it's the reason why I bought Festool tools, track saws, and stuff like that. The reason why I bought the jam, what do you call the jam saw,
Crane.
uh, not the crane saw, no, not that one. No, oscillating saw. Come on. Uh,
Oh, this
uh, uh, uh,
yeah, the super
good
saw in
God.
there. What do they call that? Yeah.
Uh, uh, anyhow, there's a
Well,
reason
just in
why.
case anybody from Crane is listening, I gave you guys a shout out. If you'd like
Yeah,
to send me one, that's
yeah,
you can
um,
just call the show for the address.
yeah. But the reason why you invest in good tools and this type of stuff, because it is such a hard job. You know what I mean? You can't afford not to get paid on a job. Um, so anyhow, hey Rob, let's do this. We've got a long way down your list, and we're nowhere near finishing. So let's do this. Let's break this into 2 episodes, and then we'll pick up on the rest of the improvements over the last number of years. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. Good idea.
This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.